I went to my GP for my yearly, decided a few years ago to go every year for a yearly checkup, just a blood test, that sort of thing, have a listen to my ticker. And he picked up my PSA reading, my GP did, checked it a month later and then referred me on to Dr. Rashid. And Dr. Rashid, of course, did a biopsy and he discovered that I had prostate cancer. Told me what options I had, and I think I made my mind up in the room that day that I would go for surgery. The other options didn't really appeal to me at all. I think I was a bit, no, I would go for surgery.
Well, my reaction was probably different than Colin's. He heard cancer, and I heard, oh, there's something wrong with him. They'll fix it, he'll be fine, because he's a fit, healthy person. So I wasn't as concerned about it. I mean, it was a shock, but I knew that he'd get through. Well,
I chose surgery. I had this idea that if you took it out, cut it out, then it was gone. I just thought it was a more positive thing, that it was literally gone from my body.
Well, we talked a lot about the other ones. We wanted to be sure it was the right one. And I know the way Colin thinks, and he just couldn't cope with the thought of it still there, no matter how it was treated.
Actually going to hospital and having the operation, a lot of it's a bit of a blur to me, probably because of the anaesthetic, etc. But then I had some complications afterwards. I had a bit of a bleed inside, and then of course I had to go and do surgery a second time. I can't even remember, was it 3 or 4 days or was it 5 or 6 days after? But it was a bit of a blur for me, but I still felt, even though it was all, when I had what I would call lucid moments, I still thought that I would get out of all this.
Extremely important. We both boosted each other's, positivity all the time. We just kept saying, we'll be okay, we'll get through it, and there was a lot we went through, but we still were smiling.
Well, I personally found the catheter very hard to sort of live with, but I knew that it wouldn't be that long, and unfortunately it went longer than what everyone thought, so it became more and more difficult to live with, and I ended up focused, I think, mentally on just, if I could remove this catheter, I'm then going to move on in sort of leaps and bounds. And as it turns out, I feel that that's exactly what happened. As soon as that catheter was gone, I think my outlook, even though I was still positive, I think it just improved dramatically, and away I went. So
definitely it was a bugbear for him. He hated it, but it was necessary, had to have it for a lot longer than was anticipated. But once gone, there was no stopping him.
I had the catheter in for 10 weeks. And there was a build-up to taking the catheter out too. I was nil by mouth for that day and prepared me for surgery just in case it didn't go well. I think there was all sorts of worry about what was going to actually happen. But I never forget the moment that when they took that out, there's a serious moments and there's a very light moment that was thrown in here as well. But when it was taken out, I, of course, drank water, and Prem, or Dr. Rashid, came to see me and said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel like I really need to pee. He said, well, stand up and pee. And I stood there and peed, and he just cuddled me. Said, you're a good man. Because I'd had a bleed, and I had a fairly large accumulation, I think they call it, it pushed my organs to one side, and it sort of started to tear the urethra away from the bladder. So then it was only partially attached. And I do remember the description was that they couldn't sew it back on. It was kind of like trying to sew 2 pieces of cheese together. That was the description of it. So we had to have the second op just to remove that accumulation, push the organs back to where they were meant to go, have some transfusions, of course, and then wait for the urethra to grow around the bladder. I think that's more or less it in layman's terms. I dribbled a lot. I had to, when I went home, I can't remember, that was it, within a day or two, wasn't it? 2 days.
Going home.
Yeah, after the catheter out. I used pads. I tried the big nappy pants, and I didn't think it was necessary and I didn't like it, so I used pads, and that was frequently changing them. But by then I'd started my pelvic floor exercises, and I'm absolutely dedicated in doing them. If I got up to go to the toilet at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, I would do a full set of pelvic floor exercises. I just wanted to fix this, and it gradually worked. I think after I was in hospital for 2 or 3 days or whatever it was, and people were pushing and poking and prodding and doing things to you that you never had done before, modesty's not an issue, so I could walk in the supermarket and buy pads if I had to. It's not a problem. I didn't want people to know I was wearing them, of course.
Yeah, I think so.
Probably 3 months. And in the end, it was a sort of, I think it became a bit of a habit that I had to shake off. Don't rely on the pad because I really don't need it. And once in a while, if I fell into a really deep sleep, I would leak a bit. And then part of me would want to put a pad back on, and then the other common sense part would say, no, just keep working at it and don't put a pad in. I think I must have read that somewhere, but I did it.
I think too, if we went anywhere else to stay,
yeah,
he always, not now, but would put one in then at night time.
Yeah.
My role as a carer, I guess, was I just did what I could for him, made him feel comfortable and not embarrassed. I mean, tell me what's wrong, or can I fix it, can I help you, whatever. It didn't worry me at all. I just wanted to encourage him the best I could.
And she did, absolutely. It was a real team thing.
Did you become dry?
Yeah, totally dry. Oh, I don't know. The odd leak, if I jumped up and twisted sideways, that probably lasted till 4 or 5 months. But I'd say at least the last 18 months I've been totally dry. And I in my job, I run and walk 8 k's a day up and down stairs and carry armfuls of x-rays, and I work hard at home on the farm on weekends, so yeah, and I don't have a problem.
How important was the pelvic floor?
Very, very important. I can't stress enough that for me it worked, and I could see the difference over time, doing them, and gradually the leak diminished. Absolutely, it's really important.